Jason is here.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and today I'm joined by Best in Bulletin. Is that you? Can you hear me?
I think so. I think
Okay,
that's
yeah,
me.
I can hear you. Okay, cool. We didn't get to do a sound check before. We were ran right up until the very end. Didn't initially plan on doing a show tonight because if you're wondering about the review from last week, it was because I gave it about a 3. And I was just like, I'm not interested in coming to dunk on a dumb show. That's boring to me. I just don't want to do it all day. And then, but anyways, today it wasn't boring. That's my upfront review. Before we get to it really quickly, there's gonna be big spoilers from the show. The biggest spoilers from the show are probably here. So if you haven't watched it yet or you care, you should probably bounce. So that's just your little warning. If you're still here, that's your fault.
But if you're watching Making Star Wars anyway, you're here for the spoilers.
You would think so, but sometimes people like to play the victim if you don't do it and go like, "Oh, you didn't say anything," and it's like, well,
you've been warned, so now I can actually say,
yeah, go ahead.
I would like to pay my respects to Yord Fondor. We hardly knew
Yord.
It's a bad day for the Yord Horde.
Yeah,
which I'm a proud member of.
It is, and I was actually, as I was watching the show, I was like, I thought Jackie as little Hermione's been kind of lame throughout most of it, but I was like, well, Jackie could really fight, so I was like, this is really paying off now.
Oh yeah, she was like badass and like little.
And then she died.
Then she dies. Yeah, she gets 3 lightsaber holes through it.
Yeah, 3
hole
wonder.
In right at the beginning, like 2-foot kick to May's face, whoever it is. Like it's pretty funny. Pretty cool. Yord went out like that was a rough way to go. Just a neck snap.
Yeah. Yord didn't get any respect. Even when he got killed by a Sith Lord, he still went out like a little dork, when you get down to it.
And he came in as like a badass moment though. He grabbed the helmet, smacked Chimera with it, and then boop, next snap.
Boop. He's gone. Yeah, you were a few minutes ahead of me, so you're like freaking out, and I'm in like the part before it, and I'm just like, yeah, this is okay.
I didn't tell you anything about what I'd seen though. I was like,
I knew you didn't need to, because I knew that if you were freaking out, I knew what would make you freak out. So I knew it was going to be deaths, and it was the Sith Lord, and then
the Sith Lord is going to make me freak out. We've like known. Ooh, that is.
Yeah, but it happened. It's like he's gonna ask you to marry him, but when he does, you still cry a little bit.
Yeah, like the I think the reveal of it is like good. I think it was shot well, but the reveal of it being Chimera was not nothing bigger for me. But it was like we all expected it, and there's been enough evidence in the show to point towards it. Even without like the crew member leaking it like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, like the like you texted me at one point, and it was when it was revealed to be Chimera in the show. Yeah, I was ahead of you, and you were like, Manny Jacinto doesn't have those arms though, does he? And I was like in the middle of a text. It was like, listen, in the good place, he actually has like kind of good arms.
Yeah, well, I watched that show, but I wasn't like checking him out. Like, look at those Sith Lord arms. And so when I saw him, like how fit the guy was, I was like, is he really that fit? And then you didn't say anything, and then that's when I was like,
in the middle of the reply, I was like writing that out. He just showed his face, and then like Yord, meets his end, and I was like, oh, I gotta tell you, this like big shit has happened instead of. Yeah, no, Manny Jacinto's rip, bro.
Yeah, Shane says you guys called Chimera Sith 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we figured it out just through the narrative itself, and then we got a video, and in that video you can see what appears to be Jacinto in that, and it was actually like the shot right before. We actually had like them filming that off of a view screen. And I was like, well, that looks like him, but we couldn't really. It was kind of inconclusive, but it was really indicative that it was him. So we were like more convinced, and yeah, and then it was, and I'm glad that it was though, because this whole time I've been saying like I think that idea is the Yoda idea. You meet Yoda on Dagobah, and he seems like he's this little fool who wants to, beat the heck out of your robot and eat your candy. Like that's what he's doing. And but in reality, he's testing you, and he's this like powerful being, one of the most powerful beings in the universe or the galaxy. And in this same thing, that's what he was doing. He was like literally following her around, um, watching her every move, and then and so at the end there, you think he thinks that Osha is going to be the better candidate because she was lied to, and she was probably better, or she was also trained in the Jedi arts as well. So does she become the better candidate? Is
I,
is is May is May dumped?
well, yeah, he was very committed to killing me
Mm-hmm.
throughout. So yeah, I think she's gone. And he definitely knows that it's Osha, and Osha was very um inquisitive about what Kamiya was referring to when he was talking about Saul's darkness.
Mm-hmm.
What's the darkness you hide in? And like obviously he said, "Well, I will tell you," but he's at least for now not going to have that opportunity.
Right.
Um, so typical Sith sort of thing. He's just going to lie and manipulate the truth, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
get her to join his cause, perhaps.
I
Maybe
mean,
not
but
fully, but just to take revenge on the Jedi at least.
yeah. Well, I mean, like something happened in the very frustrating flashback episode where we didn't get the full narrative, and it wasn't exactly as challenging as they thought it was going to be. That's what they thought it was going to do. It was going to like make the conversation one thing, and then they're going to pull the rug out. And we're like, what? But in the end, it was like the last episode and this one right here were just one episode. They acted like they broke it up into two because all these different reasons. It was one that was one episode, and the last week's
One of the
episode
tweets
was
as well,
was.
by the way, last week
Mm-hmm,
was they said this one is going to be longer. It was
mm-hmm.
longer, but by like literally 3 minutes.
Negligible. Yeah,
Yeah,
it literally doesn't matter that it was. I mean, it's the same at that point. Um, yeah, but anyways, like last week's episode was just all exposition. It was like, oh, when we kill these lame Jedi, we want you to we want you to know who they were for a second. So they just like let them like walk on screen. It was a very
I
bad
do. I
episode.
do
So
think.
that's where on this one though, I'm not
Mm,
like, oh, this is a 10 because it took a 3 to get us here, and I'm not forgetting that. I'm a little down on the show overall. The fighting was not the best fighting we've seen since the Phantom Menace, but it was probably the best fighting we've seen since the Last Jedi. I would say that much. That's where I would put it. I don't think it exactly topped the Kylo Ren fight with Snoke and Rey and the guards. I still think that was a better actual like design fight. But this is really good, and for Disney Plus, far and away the best thing on Disney Plus I think we've ever seen. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You could see how bad that fighting was after you've seen this. I think.
yeah, a couple of points on it. I think they did a good job in showing us last week the rando Jedi that went on the mission with them. For
Yeah.
us all to everybody came to the same conclusion. Oh, they're the red shirts. They're all gonna die, and our heroes, Saul, Osha, Jackie, and Yord, they'll all survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just there to be cannon fodder. And I think that was done on purpose, so those deaths felt more impactful to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and again, Star Wars doesn't do this anymore. Like they don't like deaths don't really have any weight or meaning, especially when it comes to the dark side of characters.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Yeah.
these are Jedi, but um, they're two of the main stars of the show. They're not the leads. They're not like Stenberg or Lee Jung Jae, but they're
Mm-hmm.
staples of the crew. So for that to happen, I think it was smart on Headland's part to do that. And in terms of fighting, it was early on. I texted you. I was like, "Hey, like, gonna use the term that Rob doesn't like." I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Smilo Ren is cooking. Like
Mm-hmm.
he is going in." I
He was
really
literally
love.
cooking. There was like little fires and like sizzling stuff.
Mm,
He was literally
he
cooking.
what he was doing though, I thought was great. Like he seemed so ferocious and fast and quick, and like all of his moves, I really enjoyed it, and even the head button into the lightsabers just to
Mm-hmm.
stop them. I'm just like, dude, like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, I'm not saying that's the most badass thing ever or anything, but I'm like, that is cool and that's unique to this show. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've never seen somebody do it. Like, we've seen so many masked villains in Star Wars at this point, and this guy is just taking his head to a saber. Like, I'm like, that's pretty funny, but also pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like I said, with the fighting on Disney Plus, it's by far the best one. I thought Ahsoka had good choreography for the first couple of fights, and then it
Mm-hmm.
dropped off somehow as we went on.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, this is like the stuff with Chimera, I think is definitely the best thing I think we've had on Disney Plus for fighting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there was some dialogue choices just for like nitpicks. It was like dialogue choices that I didn't like, mostly in the scene between Osha and May.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was a bit corny, especially given how sort of dark this episode was. Like, again, it's Disney Plus, and the way they kill Yord is pretty hefty for a show like this, for a Disney
Yeah.
Plus series. Um, you know, especially like as they've sort of been holding our hand throughout the first four episodes. This one felt like, like we've gone up an age level almost. Um, yeah, and then obviously I didn't like the twist at the end of how, because me and you've talked about this in like various weeks, um,
Jedi
outside of
bangs. Talk about Jedi bangs. We talk about those a lot.
sort of, yeah,
Yeah.
um, outside of the show, and it's like Jackie, like her actress Daphne Keane, like over a year ago, also a film was like, yeah, the story's about the Jedi being infiltrated by the Sith,
Yeah.
and we've had this discussion of why would she say that if that's not going to happen? Like, we've seen nothing of that happening yet. And like when the way it happened, just that,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, Osha, like, oh, May cuts her bangs to look like Osha, changes clothes, and it's like, oh yeah, she's just walking into the ship now. I'm like, that feels dumb. Like, that's the dumbest way we could have got to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I assume Saul is gonna very like quickly figure this out, but he seemingly hasn't figured out in that moment. Because surely his concern would be, this is May, where is Osha? I need to save Osha. I need to find her, right? But
Right.
he doesn't have that feeling in the moment. He walks back through the forest to get to the ship. So at least in that episode, he did not realize that that was May, right? And I think that's a bit silly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, he's just gonna be like, when they get on the ship, he's gonna be like, your sister May, she really sucks. Man, she really sucks. Doesn't she suck? She's the worst. And she's gonna be like, it's me. I just cut my bangs. And he's
That
gonna
also
be
annoyed me
really
because, like,
embarrassed.
when you see May cut her hair,
Mm-hmm.
like how full the fringe is, the bangs, is
Mm-hmm.
like way less than Osha's. Like, Osha's covers her forehead pretty much. Like, you can't
Mm-hmm.
see any symbol or much forehead underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But when May, well, she's always had it, even when she cuts it in the scene, you can see her marking still. You can see
Yeah.
the symbol. Um, but like the next scene when she's walking up to Saul, it's like, oh no, everything's completely covered. Like, she's just filled her in somehow. But
Um.
these are
Mhm.
minor gripes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we'll hit on like what Baymax is saying too. But Brandon, before I forget, says Leslie said the fighting is the best since the Phantom Menace, and that was weird for her to say that. And I could see why she would believe that. I could also see why she would like be in the corner of her team. And I think that on the fighting, I think they dropped the ball on many things in the show over many episodes. But that part, but the lightsaber fighting in this one is not a place where they drop the ball at all.
Mm.
So for her to actually like sling that around as that makes the most sense to me. That's it makes a lot of sense. And if anything, the only unfortunate part of it is that it doesn't come until the fifth episode. You
Yeah,
know,
it's an artist that's proud of her work. Like, she's going to say it, and also if you want to sell the show, telling Star Wars fans this show might have the best fight since the Phantom Menace, that's going to excite people and get people talking about your show in a positive way.
yeah,
So of course, like, as part of like marketing and just as a proud artist, you are gonna say that. So
Yeah. And I like I said, I wouldn't give it the best one since the Phantom Menace, but
no,
I would put it up there. It's definitely up there. It's not, and that's not a bad place to be as far as it goes, because Star Wars has some amazing fights in it, overall. And then so Baymax says Jedi Master can't sense his own Padawan because of a Bang's haircut. That's ludicrous. Well, the Sith Lord does sense. He knows it's not. He knows
he
it's
knows his
OSHA.
OSHA.
He's
Yeah.
very aware. I'm gonna guess that it maybe after Saul catches his breath, he will too. That
But
would
it's
be my
also
guess.
well, it's also like, Kaimia throughout the episode was like, I don't want to remove my helmet. I don't want you in my head. Which is
Mm-hmm.
also something he did early in the series, right?
Yeah, he
So
was afraid of that. Yeah.
yeah, so he knows how powerful Saul is, and he
Mm-hmm.
would know instantly who he might be.
And Saul read OSHA's mind.
Yeah, exactly. So
May's mind,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, you don't even know who he is, and
yeah.
all that jazz. So
So it is like a bit convenient in this moment, and like again, that's what I feel is a bit silly is how we are here, like how the keen quote of Sith infiltrating the Jedi.
mm-hmm.
This is that. I'm like, it's a bit silly, especially for an episode that I thought was very well done up until that point. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would understand no if Saul was like not there or dead or wherever it might be. As she goes back, I can understand if some of the other Jedi who haven't spent time with her in many, many years was like, okay, this is Osha. Like,
I grew up with twins,
mm,
and even today, they were like in her 40s now. When I see them, I still know which one is which.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not so. Soul would definitely know. That wouldn't work. But at the same time, just from a melodrama standpoint, I'm not going to get hung up on it because it does depend on how it's dealt with in the next episode, right? That's where we're going to
You
really,
know it does, yeah.
yeah. So that's where the verdict on that comes out, I
Hmm.
think.
It's
And
just in
and
this
also
moment,
when you do like a full watch of the whole thing at
yeah,
once down the road, that's also when it could be reevaluated more clearly, I think.
yeah. I want to like, I want to say that Jacinto was very good in his performance, like jumping between the two.
Hmm.
Like, it was almost when he was speaking as his Sith self, he was far more menacing, and like there was a change. It's what we've sort of complained about when we've talked about how Stenberg goes between Osha and May. One performance feels far more natural than the other, and
Hmm.
like sometimes the May performance came off as a bit like edgy and unnatural to her as a performer.
Hmm.
Whereas I think when Jacinto was doing it, going between the two sort of versions of the same character that he is, he he portrayed it a lot better. And just to see him quickly go from looking menacing and dark and having a deeper like voice, and his how he articulates words were different, to like May showing up, and he turns around and he instantly just snaps back into goofy Kaimia mode, where his voice like raises and he's almost sounding like he
Oh
does in the
hey,
good place. Oh
oh
hi,
hey,
yeah.
friend.
And he's like his facial
Hmm.
expressions, it just automatically just sinks straight into how he was. And I
Hmm.
was like, that's a like I really liked his performance in this. I know we've always said in the episodes that Kaimia has been in, that he has been one of the stronger actors in this. Um, obviously we give the highest acclaim to Saul and Lee Jung Jae for elevating every
And
scene he's in. Same thing here.
he's
He's
a
great.
second. Yeah, I don't think it's a close second, but he's a second. There
Yeah,
is a big
and
gulf between Saul and everybody else in the show
oh yeah,
by
and again,
far.
like seeing it today when
Hmm.
especially when Kaimia had the helmet off, the interactions between the Soul and Kaimia, it was levels above, you know, just seeing Stenberg and Yord have conversations in the forest, and it was like, same thing for. I don't think they were bad, or Jackie and Stenberg were bad either. May, um, but it's just I think those two are levels above everybody else in the show.
Hmm.
We complained last week about. Well, I know we didn't do a show, but we complained about the performance of Vanessa Rowe, right?
Yeah, she's awful. She doesn't
And
know.
yeah, and this
They put
again,
green makeup on her and she forgets how to act. I don't even get it.
I didn't like her performance in Russian Doll. So
Yeah.
I just think there's levels to this, and I think Kai Mia is especially now that we're going to delve more into who he is and his plans, probably.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get to see a lot more of him, which is something I think is exciting. And I think, again, we praise the fight sequences. He's obviously very key in that. And I think he did a great job. I think he did a good job as a performer. I'm like all around very excited by him as a character in this.
Yeah. Big time. He's it was great. Meg says, I think if you don't know anything about the Sith, this was an enjoyable episode. No, see, you're not enjoying it because you're bringing in a bunch of books and old crap that doesn't pertain to anything in 2024, and then being like, well, Darth Bane, and it's just like, it doesn't pertain here on this. All of that is just, that's all old canon. It's legends now. And that's why I keep saying like Tenebris and shit like that. I doubt that's even going to be a thing. I mean, if you just want my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a thing. And, it just is what it is. I mean, all of those books too are like, oh, I'm a Sith Lord for like 155 years. I don't think we're going to go that way in this current stuff. I think it's going to be more like I was saying, like to you, me and Meg were talking a couple of days ago. I was like, probably like 40 years, like 20 years as an apprentice, 20 years as a master. That's probably what we're looking at in these things. I don't think any of that old stuff carries over at all. It's just not going to. This isn't even like that stuff.
Well,
I don't
there was
like
a
the show that
line.
much. I'm still like, right now the show for me is like a 5 in total. And before this one, it was probably a 4. This like probably brings it up to a 5 for me. So I'm not like in love with the show, and I'm not just seem like I'm picking on you, Meg, but it is. But all of that stuff just doesn't pertain. And then right now, he didn't go around going like, "Hey, I'm a Sith." That breaks canon, because they don't do that. Palpatine was literally picking up the Senate and saying, "I am the Senate." He was literally like monologuing his plans, because it's what they do when they get high on their own supply, when they're getting to cut loose. And he has his intention isn't that anybody's going to run away. In that fight, Chimera is going to either be killed or kill everyone. Like that's where he's coming from. So he will tell you his plan. You would call me a Sith. You would. And then he's going to do it. And he's going to kill him. And that was the intention. And considering how well he was doing at the start, I don't think it was even that crazy for him to think he could pull it off. Because he did pretty well. I mean,
Yeah,
he killed Jeki, he killed Yord, he killed all the red shirts, he killed Kelnaka. I mean,
yeah,
he's pretty good batting average at this point for killing people. So,
yeah. And again, he has a good chance he could have gone on to kill Saul. Like in the way that he was stopped, it was from assistance from other people.
yeah.
But like his whole thing is, you would refer to me as a Sith, you would call me a Sith, and we're not supposed to exist. So that's why everybody has to die. So what I take from that line is, the Sith might have been around for a long time, just in the shadows and the darkness that you'd expect. And once any secret is revealed, anybody who knows it meets their end. That is that is Kamia's whole thing in this episode.
Yeah.
She's betrayed me. She knows who I am. She has to die. You guys will see my face. You have to die. Like,
well, and that even ends up being true even in the lighter canon of like Clone Wars. Oh, Ventress is getting too powerful. She knows our stuff. We got to kill her. You have to kill her. Go kill her. Like that's how it goes. So it makes sense. And like over the years, I mean, if we have Sith hiding for 1,000 years, and we're gonna have shows, and we're gonna have stories with Sith hiding for 1,000 years, and they never do anything, then we don't have 1,000 years worth of Sith stories there.
well, even if you look at even in the prequels, like Palpatine is in hiding. They emerge from the shadows of Darth Maul. That's when they're alerted to the threat. But Palpatine would have been around for decades, and his master before him would have been around for decades. But again, they're doing that in the shadows. Nobody knows the Sith are here until they make it known in the Phantom Menace. Like, so with Kaimia's line of everybody has to die basically because you see my face, like I'm a Sith. I think for me it checks out. I can take that and be comfortable in going forward. I know people will bring up the Kiadi-Mundi thing. Like, well, he would know.
I don't get that one. Like, because remember, even if he even knows what's going on there, just because there's a red lightsaber, that doesn't mean it's a Sith Lord.
Well, Saul would go back, and if Saul does manage to go back,
Mm-hmm.
right, to inform the council,
Yeah.
he's gonna say like he is a Sith.
Right.
Like he told me he's
I,
a
I'm
Sith.
I'm of the opinion nobody lives.
I won't be surprised if
I
these
think
guys don't
everybody
survive.
dies
Yeah.
and Osha becomes the apprentice. Like that's been my prediction since the second episode probably. And like I think that's how this is gonna go. I think, like
Mm.
I've said, I think May and Osha are gonna crisscross with allegiances and where they're at emotionally. And then even in this one right here, we learn that Saul has a dirty secret,
Hmm.
and he hid stuff from Osha, and clearly the Sith Lord is going to tell her, right?
I think
Like,
he'll tell her, but I think he might also manipulate the truth. You know,
yeah,
and it
but
might
but
be what
but what
happens
if
on
it's
the
so
flip
bad he
side.
doesn't even? What if he doesn't even have to though? It might be so bad he doesn't have to.
True, but also like it could be the other way around when May uh converses with Saul.
Yeah.
Saul could tell her what happened, and she might realize that, oh, it isn't as Chimera told me. It isn't exactly that. There's some truth in it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been exaggerated and manipulated and twisted. Like that could happen. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
we don't really know what's gonna happen with May. If May does die, who's gonna kill her? I don't think Saul has it in him to do that. So you'd assume it's down to Chimera or Osha if Osha does turn.
I
So
that's how I think this goes. I think Osha kills her sister. I think that's or something would have to happen to push her over emotionally. She can't let go. That's been the whole thing. Is
unless
not being able to
Chimera,
let go is that's the Sith recipe. You can't let go of your mom, you become Darth Vader, and that's exactly what she can't let
well,
go of
she
her
sort
mom.
of go today. Like, May's
Mm-hmm.
hugging her and is like, I love you and remember where you came from. And Osha cries, but then quickly turns on her and goes
Mm-hmm.
to arrest her. It's
Yeah,
like she's
she's
still,
a bit more dogmatic.
yeah. But this is just a theory, but one way you could go is that Chimera does manage to kill May in Osha's anger and upset at Chimera, kills Chimera, comes an apprentice. Because
Yeah.
we know from Headland there's a Sith Lord, the Master, the Apprentice, the Acolyte. May
Yeah,
is the Acolyte.
but we don't even. But once again, we don't even. There's. I always keep saying. I think you're right. But what if he doesn't have an apprentice? And
No, I'm
before
saying
he could,
Chimera is the apprentice, though.
yeah, I'm saying, what if Chimera is the actual Sith Lord, and there is no apprentice, and he needs this acolyte before he needs acolytes before he could even pick his apprentice? Now, I mean, it's a possible because if he just killed the Sith Master, he could have just done that, and that might be why now he's going balls out.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I'm not saying like not like a prediction or I think this is going to happen. Just more of it's a scenario that's not necessarily off the table.
But
You
also, if you're
know.
Chimera, right, and you have a Master above you, and this secret that the Sith are among us is supposed to be kept, in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
your whole goal is even for that Master, you're gonna be scared of him. Chimera probably is scared.
Yeah.
Like he acted scared about this guy, even though he is him, and May would as well. Um, if your master finds out, oh, our secret is out because of your failings, you did not manage to kill the Jedi, you did not kill the Acolyte, and our secret is going to be out there. If I'm Chimera, I'm fearing that my life might be over, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
And that's what and I'm with you there. And I now my actual prediction here
mhm,
is that he wants to kill his Sith Lord, and that's why he wants an acolyte. He
yeah.
wants somebody and it can't be a schmo. It has to be like a really good somebody who can really back him up on this fight because that's what
Mhm.
it's ultimately going to be about, right? And
Yeah, well, it's the nature of the Sith, right? The apprentice always tries to
mhm,
like topple the master, like so,
yeah,
you know, and he would obviously anticipate that if he did become the master, he'd anticipate that from Mayo Osha as well. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know when we'll get if a reveal, if we do get a reveal of who his master may be. Um,
hmm because
I know people
people
people have
want
theories.
Plagueis. People want it to be
Oh yeah, well
be
people won't play
Plagueis.
guess, of course they do. Yeah, like you know,
Mm-hmm.
One thing I keep questioning, because it has not happened yet.
What's that?
Where is David Hayward? We're now 5 episodes in. He was cast in a quote small role.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
Like, is he the
The Sith
master?
Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good guess. I mean, but there's also, like we have what, 3 more episodes?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a bit more to unravel.
One
And
of them
I
is also a flashback. Like 7 is probably a flashback because of you have that image of Jodie Turner-Smith, which Disney released themselves, and they said it was from episode 7.
they can't make us go that the full gamut of that thing again though. If they
I don't know
do,
if they'll make us go the full way, but there's
yeah.
so much left though to be told. For even when you look through the footage that remains, there's a Kalnaka fight with Torben,
Mm-hmm.
and there's somebody on the side of like that building to live in, like trying to like infiltrate it, they're climbing up the building. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot more going on than there, like different perspectives,
Yeah.
Carry On Moss, it's wherever. And also the director of episode 7 is also the director of
Same one
episode
as
3.
3, yeah.
So it feels as if, yeah, we're gonna Manny Jacinto, he said that post episode 5 there's gonna be an exploration of the relationship of May and Kymir. So I
Yeah.
think that's 6. Like he now has Osha in his hands. They're gonna have that conversation.
Do you
Same
do,
thing with May.
do
It's
you,
all
do you think that's how we flash back? Is him talking to Osha and him telling Osha real story as far as he's concerned, or as far as the Sith want her to believe? Do you think that maybe that's how it happens?
maybe there's a good chance that's how it is. But like
Yeah.
something has to happen in episode 6. If that is episode 7,
Mm-hmm.
something has to happen in episode 6 for us not to get there. Like there's still stuff left from footage you haven't seen of a soul in space in a ship like chasing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like that still hasn't happened. I'm assuming that's going to be probably May at this point. Like she's in the ship with him.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's other just like little bits and bobs. But I'd assume we haven't seen anything from episode 8. So I think we got probably another flashback or half flashback episode somewhere in there. You
Right.
know, there's got to be some conversations. In one of the promo spots, there's a scene of which we assumed was Osha as well,
Mm-hmm.
picking up a lightsaber off of a pile of clothes and lifting her up. And you know, in one of the leaked things from the crew member, it looks like Kaimia stood next to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's directly following that. So I assume that's the next one. I just
Yeah.
don't think we've seen anything from episode 8. And again, if you're going to introduce a new master, you know, um, it's probably just going to happen in that one episode. It's just going to happen in the finale.
Right.
And based off of how this show has seemingly been performing, and I'm not about like within the fandom, that does not
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Doesn't
I'm on
matter.
about like viewership wise. Um, Leslie Hadland said it will depend on viewership, if there is more than one season. So how much will get wrapped up within this? If they introduce the Sith Master in episode 8, is that it? Do we get to see more? But I don't know.
Yeah.
And obviously people have theories on who that would be, right? Like the Zabrak chick from the Coven, maybe Jodie Turner-Smith's mother Anastasia herself, you know. Or like I said, it could possibly be David Hayward. Um, it might be a lot for the finale, but then again, we don't know how long the finale is, and we probably haven't seen a single shot from it.
Yeah. In terms of like Star Wars vernacular, I'm in the camp that the mom is definitely dead, because that's what that she has to be dead for her not to be able to let go, or you could rectify everything. And if you rectify everything, the Sith don't get the strongest candidate. They don't become stronger. At the end of this, that's ultimately what has to happen. That's the functionality of this. I would think would be, oh, we saw how the Sith got stronger and what they had to do during that generation. On the way towards
Mm.
Palpatine. But James gave a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, James. Why didn't they lead with this episode? It's not like they're telling a linear story, so might as well. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Um, the reason is simply money. It is simply, hey, we need you to stay subscribed to Disney Plus for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Like these
It-
streamers at the moment are all very concerned with churning, which is when you
mhm.
only subscribe for one show, and once the show is ended, you unsubscribe and you come back for whenever it is that you want to see next on the service. So they're fully aware of that, and even Netflix is, and they used to be obviously the place where you'd see it all at once, and they have even now started breaking up seasons into two parts.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason this, you know, why they wouldn't lead with this story. This reason they don't, they want to drag the mystery out over the course of 8 episodes. They want to keep viewers hooked, and yeah, I think, but I think a lot of things in the show is kind of weird.
Mhm.
Like earlier on, I think in the show, like because for the vast majority of the marketing, they hid that Stenberg plays two characters. But
Yeah.
within the first episode, they're telling us, yeah, they're twins.
Yeah.
Like the mystery's not there. The mystery's already gone, and you could have dragged that out at least in an episode or so.
And you
Um,
also could have done stuff like filming Osha during the day and May at night, and made you think like,
yeah,
what's she doing at
yeah,
night? Does she ever sleep? And then you're
yeah.
like, oh, they're twins. Yeah,
And again,
there was maybe a better way of going about that. I agree.
yeah, and I guess, and that's the thing is, I think like they, if there's different ways they could have gone around the show, but I think ultimately like they wouldn't lead with this. Like I don't see how they would lead with it unless there was they just dropped it all at once, and this,
Yeah, I think with with what James is suggesting, I think that would be the right answer in a non-linear story that was a film.
yes,
Because then you could open with a really big fight with all of the opening stuff, and then you could tell how we got there, and then you could tell exactly how we conclude it, you know. But yeah, but with like with the series thing, you need to do it week by week and making an event. And yeah,
and
and
again,
episode 5 is like the place where you, if I could show somebody 2 minutes of the show and be like, you should watch the whole thing, because let's say I feel that way, it would probably be from episode 5.
yeah, and we are now halfway through because they gave us the first two at at once, so we are now halfway through the season, right?
Mhm.
In terms of like week to week releases, um, it's something we've spoken about before in when I do a lot of like numbers stuff for the show, like oh
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
and one of the things that always comes up is there's always a boost in viewership when a well-known character that casual audiences know shows up in a TV show,
Yeah.
and we were like, well, the Acolyte wouldn't get that unless they're gonna pop in Yoda or something, which Leslie Headland has been adamant like that is not happening, and she did want to use Yoda.
Yeah.
um
And Plo
so
Koon's dad died, so don't let that
yeah,
happen.
so but maybe this is like, again, you're in the mid-season point now of the show. Maybe this is how you try and sell it to more people, is like,
Sith
look at the
Lord.
action we've got, look at the
Look
reveals,
at
look at the, but I don't
yeah.
know.
Look at Darth Maul's grandpa, religiously
Mhm,
speaking. You
yeah,
know.
so I don't know if this if that comes into play as well, but
Mhm.
ultimately Disney want to drag anything out. The only time they would dump something all at once is when they know themselves this is not very good,
Mhm.
which is what they did to Echo, and
Mhm.
Echo did not perform well.
Yeah.
So this is like on the show last year, like in August, September, wherever time it might have been, we were like, it was probably actually way before that, because I was just thinking of like the release report thing I did way before that actually. This was
Mhm.
being touted as the flagship show. Like from everything they were
Mhm.
planning last year, this was it. This was the big boy, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
It's not
so they
Skeleton Crew.
no,
That's
so
not what they believed.
that's not what they believed, but
Mhm.
they want this thing to be an event. They see this as one of their major releases of the year. Like that's why a couple of weeks ago they were touting like, "Hey, it's our biggest release of the year," like in terms of viewership. But when you look
Yeah.
at the numbers of all the other viewership, like they didn't do so hot. Like
Well,
like Echo,
even on the ramp up we were talking today, I was like, the
mm,
trailers, you could look at them, you could see what the numbers on the trailers
yeah.
are.
But it was like Echo,
They're like Andor light.
yeah. Echo was the most watched show before this.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh,
that
of the
tells
year,
you,
yeah.
yeah, that tells you how dire the Disney Plus content has sort of been. So this is a big thing for them. They really want to promote it and sell people on it.
Yeah.
So they want you to be subscribed for longer because they know a lot of people will move on. The churners, as they call them.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, after this, they kind of got like a thing going, like, because there's a lot of overlap between Star Wars and Marvel fans. Like, okay, then it's Agatha, then it's Skeleton Crew, and then Daredevil and Andor, and wherever else next year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Meg says, how about Lucasfilm Respect fans who bought their books, which they republish with their logo, instead of telling us we're wrong and it doesn't count? I don't think they told you you're wrong, and I don't think that they told you it doesn't count, and they put a big Legends logo on the top of it, and to let you know that they will not be honoring it. Like, that's not a mystery.
But
And when
even
you,
canon, they don't necessarily, in the books especially, they don't usually, like, if it's in a movie or a show, they don't. It takes more precedent over, like, the canon is in a book. They've done that before. They've done that even with,
yeah,
like, the sequels.
they're probably going to do it K2SO in a few months or
There's a
a
good
year or
chance they
whatever it's been.
do it with K2SO. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, at this, they're not going to let a book that sold 100,000 copies get in the way of something that would be the right film opportunity or TV opportunity
Something
that's
they
going to
think
be
millions of
consumed
people
by
will see.
millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely different. And I think that the actual disrespect would be if they buried Legends and never republished them or let anybody read them. I think it's a sign of respect that they still actually foster that content because they can make money off of it. But that is probably as
But
good
that's
as it
what Legends
gets.
logo is all about. And they've said this since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is Legends. It's not canon. It doesn't count. You know.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah, there's some good stories in Legends, and they're just there to be enjoyed. It's just think of it as a parallel universe, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the best way to go. And I mean every now and then, like, I could pick up an old one and look at it and I'm like and enjoy it for what it is. But yeah. But if you're the kind of person who's always putting everything all together about how it all fits together, well, then
Mm.
yeah, it's probably more confusing. But makes us that the way we have to tiptoe around technicalities to make the show work is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not really having that. That's not really my problem with the show. I'm not really having to, oh no, Kiadi Mundi. The truth is when Kiadi Mundi sees the Sith Lord, he still ain't gonna believe it because he's a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Is what it comes down to. But
But also, he
uh,
genuinely still might know that the Sith isn't back. Like, if nobody makes it back
yeah,
and tells him, he might never know.
right. You might
He'll
not
just think it
have
was
it.
Osha killing people. Sorry, May killing people.
Hmm. And those weird creatures in the forest might eat all the bodies, and the Sith Lord might pick up the lightsabers and take them all with him and dispose of them. I mean, it's not necessarily like he just like went on TV and was like, "It's me, I'm the Sith Lord," that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I'm not. That stuff isn't really like bogging my mind down. But I have a lot more issues with like the earlier stuff. But yeah. Anyways, though, what would you give the episode?
I'm very high on the episode. I don't have a lot of the complaints that I've had with the series so far. A lot of stuff we've complained about is whether it's through writing, showrunner choices, directing choices, set design, performances. With this one, I don't have any of that problem. I
Yeah,
thought, even though they was filmed together, you seem like the forest looked a bit better this week. I think it's because
the lights went down.
the lights went down. Yeah. And then as they're running through the forest, it also feels a bit more lived in. You could hear the bugs a lot more as well.
Yes.
Um, which is it's a minor gripe, but it was a gripe we had from last week, and we didn't say it on the show, but it was
Yeah.
something we talked about.
It felt like a dead jungle is what was my
Yeah,
gripe about last week. And it's already a boring episode where they're just like walking around and stuff, so you have
yeah,
time to
and it
actually like
looked like a
ruminate
set.
on it,
It looked like a set as well. It didn't look high quality. So
Yeah.
it all added into that mixture. But yeah, so all that stuff, and then you take in the fights, which we said is like some of the best they've done, probably the best they've done on Disney Plus.
Mhm.
The performances of two of you know two characters that probably have a lot of the screen time. Saul and Kaimi have really elevated it. There was moments of shock that I didn't expect from the show, and I didn't expect just from Star Wars these days. Only maybe from Andor, because it is so much more mature than everything else. So yeah, no, I'm really high on it. I said my qualms are really small with this, and it's and again, it might be rectified next week. The gets the hair and steals the clothes, infiltrates the Jedi thing, and just a couple of that conversation with Maynosha. I thought it was some lines were a bit cheesy. So in the context of this series, this season, I'd say this is like an 8. Like, I'm really high on it. And for context, I'm higher, I think, on the series as a whole than you are. Like, I don't think I've really gone below a 5 on any episode. And it's usually averaged around 6 for me.
Yeah,
So
last episode I gave like a 4. I think, is that what I say, a 4? Is that where I rested
you
on?
said a 4 or 3. Yeah, you were like down on it.
Yeah. And like on this one, I want to give it an 8. I don't like what it took to get here. That it took a 4
in
or a 3 to
isolation,
get here is like something that was a little easy, a little hard for me to enjoy this on a first run, because I'll be honest, I didn't trust the show.
Right.
So when all that shit's happening, I'm like, okay, where's the part where you fucking step in poop because you want to do a callback to the Phantom Menace or something stupid? You know, I was like, where's it gonna happen? And so I'm gonna say right now a 7.5, but I have a feeling I'm gonna watch it again now that I trust it and probably enjoy it more, and then it'll probably be an 8 as well.
Yeah, one thing you might have said this on one of these shows, one of the ones I went on, but you did say it came from me. It was that something that I find has happened a lot with some of these shows recently has been the more time you have away from it, the worse it sort of feels.
Yeah,
like it doesn't age well.
I talked about you telling me that the Santa show, right? I think that's
you said it somewhere. I know you said it somewhere, and so it was like, yeah, and that has been the case as well for this show. Like, I'll watch it the night it comes out, and then after 24, 48 hours, I'm like, yeah, I'm like even a little bit more down on it. Even after a rewatch or something.
Right.
But like this one again exceeded any expectations I had of the show. Like, as it's been releasing, because obviously beforehand, being that it's Leslie Headland, I expected a bit more, and some of the actors in it. But based off of what they've given us week to week, my expectations were like sort of lowered. But they blew them out of the water, and like I said, like the deaths and the fights and some of the performances and like they generally shocked me and give me some joy in it, and I'm happy to be happy with this show.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people out there who want to hate on the show just because they enjoy hating on something. Getting views from it, whatever it may be.
And that's
right?
one of the reasons. One of the reasons I didn't want to do the show last week, because I was just like, I know that there's people that want that, and there's people who want to lump people in on that. Yeah. And in the Star Wars fandom, you could rarely have a nuanced conversation about what you just saw.
No, again, you can't, right? And we've joked because of like other things we read online that there's a lot more.
Their baby brain. The fandom collective in total is a bunch of baby brain weirdos.
Yeah,
but
I remember like
not
the
you
best
guys.
one.
You guys are cool, but there's other
I
guys.
always, I say it when I come on here, right? I always like, I'm sort of away from it, and I've tried to give advice to other people who might want to be away from it. Is this place and talking to your friends is cool. Like, that's why I do it here. Is because the chat is cool. Like, every like you see the same guys week in, week out, and they're usually, even if they disagree with the opinion, they're level headed. Like whether it's Ben or one of the Jameses, like Mike's, everything. Like it's always level headed, and it's the same thing with when we, get on a game and talk with our buddies and wherever else. To talk amongst people, have a normal debate or normal conversation, even if we're on different ends of our feelings on a show. But going online and doing stuff is, if you criticize anything, you'd hate it. If you say something's good, just the best thing ever. I don't know. Like, the best thing last week though was you were gonna do a show, and like the episode bummed you out, and you told Rob you were doing a show, and he watched 3 and 4 together, and was like, not happy about them, and
I
we're just like, yeah,
know.
I'm not doing it.
I know. And then today I was gonna tell him like, oh, maybe you should watch it. And then I was like, oh man, I'm gonna watch it, make sure it's good first. But then I watched it and it was kind of amazing. So we did a
Yeah,
show. Sorry, Rob. I didn't mean for it to go that way, but it did.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah. This is like for me I'm the most mixed on this show out of any of the Star Wars content, live action Star Wars content they've made. I think.
Mm.
Um, because there's just moments in it that I really really dig, and then there's other stuff where I'm just like, no, this is not up to snuff. This is not like the quality. Vanessa Rowe or whatever her name is just looks like trash. I mean, when you watch Babylon 5, you see better makeup, and it's not a slight on Babylon 5. I'm just saying 1990s TV was doing better than 2023 Star Wars. Unacceptable, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, she's green, it looks cool. No, she looks like a lady just painted green. It just
Yeah,
looks
it almost looks like
like
a
she's,
certain like light on it. Looks like you can almost see the
yeah, I
skin.
could see her at Burning Man doing cocaine or something. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't
There
really
was,
look seem
yeah,
like she's part of the Star Wars universe for me. So you know.
yeah. That was some of the joys of last week because I think you weren't going to see it as it like hit, and I was texting the stuff, and I think you saw my descent into like madness through that episode, and then you got to witness it yourself, and you had to relive it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's no, we didn't talk about Chimera being taken away by the bugs, which is like
Yeah,
kind of
Chimera
funny.
and the Bug. Sorry. Yeah, that stupid. Just and now last week we were talking though. This is where I'm just going to be like, I was right. Because
Hmm.
I was like, when she finds the bugs, you were like, this episode could have been, you really wanted it edited down. You're like, we didn't even need that. And I was like, well,
Yeah,
that's probably going to be a callback thing in the next episode. And then so it was a big callback thing in this episode.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think that was clever. That was just like they got to the point where, what if bugs take him away? Okay, go back to page 72 and add that she pets a bug. That's probably how it developed.
When the
And
bug thing started happening, I almost like did think to myself, I was like, are they gonna rip? Because they've just killed Yord and Jackie in the manner in which they did. I was like, are they gonna rip Chimera apart? These bugs? Like, he's
yeah,
generally just gonna have a savage death in this moment. But like,
no.
obviously,
Instead, they made sweet bug love to him.
yeah, they just took him in the sky and flew him off just a couple of feet
Yeah,
because he walks back and he finds Osha pretty quickly. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, is yeah, like even with the bug thing coming back into play, I still cut like stuff out of last week, and I
yeah.
still think we had this discussion earlier, obviously before seeing the show, and we were like, um, because obviously tweets from the writers last week, they were like, yeah, next week's episode was longer, and it was by a few minutes, but not much.
Yeah.
Um, and it was
But
like,
but this one was so packed full
yeah,
of
yeah, like,
action and content that it was like
yeah,
3 times the amount of data coming at you than last
right,
week's
yeah,
too.
but it was still like, I think you still could have done them together, or even just put like, this is
Yes.
the mid-season, so having 4 and 5 come out at once, like, they've done it for Bad Batch, they've done it like, I don't know, it's just the bloody Bad Batch, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you could do it, and yeah, I don't know. I think getting more positivity into uh this topic earlier is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been stretched out over 3-4 weeks now of division and certain content being made, and yeah, like um and this was without question the highlight of the series so far, you know.
So in it, you learn that Chimere utility eulogy says was it really packed with content? Well, you end up having the deaths of Yord and Jackie and all of the red shirts. They don't really matter very much though. You end up having the reveal of the Sith Lord. You end up having the sisters actually finally having a moment together. We have the sisters actually switching places and fighting and then switching places. There's a lot, actually a lot does go down in the episode. That's why last week's
Even the
episode was just
Saul,
exposition to
yeah,
this stuff, and then the
the
mystery, the
reveal of
soul
Saul
mystery.
is hiding a secret, you know, in
Yeah,
darkness.
yeah. Like last
His
week, there was
mask.
absolutely nothing for us to discuss. Bugs. There was a bug that walked around.
Basil. We could have discussed Basil.
That motherfucker lived. What? He
Hey,
made it.
Basil's gonna expose me. I'm telling you though.
He's a
Like,
Sith Lord. You think he's a
no,
Sith
no,
Lord?
no, no. He
He's
like
the master.
he went and found Pip, right? At the top of Pip. And then
Yeah,
he's gone all the way back to the ship, and he's clearly like, that does not smell like OSHA, you know?
yeah,
It might be Basil that exposes the truth to Saul, a
yeah,
Jedi Master, but who you know used to train OSHA. But
yeah.
Basil might be the one.
I mean, and if it does go that way, depending on how it's executed, like I said, if you know, like when Qui-Gon Jinn, you know, you see the Sith Lord for the first time in 1,000 years, basically,
Mm.
it's going to probably be on your mind a little bit more than your bangs look different. You know what I mean? A
Oh
little
no, I
bit.
know.
But I mean, that's like my take on it right now. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I know it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the gripe of the week though, just because I saw it a few times already. So it'll pop up here and there, or whatever. But yeah. So anyways, I do think that it had like a lot of actual like data came at you, a lot of ramifications because like Jackie's dead. Now that means that Saul doesn't have a Padawan, which means that that opens up Osha's return to be his Padawan. And then what if there is a full switch here
Yeah.
though? What if somehow, I think this would be controversial, but what if May becomes his Padawan and she's like, and they're like, yeah, we're not holding the murders that you did against you because you were the hostage of a Sith Lord and you're like a 23-year-old woman who's just, you know, being pushed to do this. And we know that they, you know, so I could see that happening. Don't think that will happen. I think they'll both die is what I
Yeah,
think is gonna.
I think everybody will die,
And,
but maybe
and
not OSHA. And
yeah, and we might, but also like think about how this could go, because we might have May
mm,
pretending to be Osha. Saul knows, and he's just like, keep your mouth shut, don't say anything yet. He might go there, he might be like, I saw a Sith Lord, and Ki-Adi-Mundi might just be like, bullshit. You know what I mean, though? And he's like,
mm.
no, trust me, it's a Sith Lord. And there's like, bro, no, bullshit. And then like nobody believes them. And then Osha, I'm sorry, then
Well,
May and
Saul can
Saul
see
have to go
inside.
kill it. That might be how
Well,
this goes, and they
also,
don't.
like,
It doesn't
Saul
work.
can see things in people's minds, right? Like,
Yeah,
Kaimi establishes twice, you know?
yeah,
So he could say, look, I'm not lying. One of these guys on that council might have the same ability to see into his mind. And
mm-hmm.
then it's not just him who would have seen the same thing. You have you have May, who's been under the command of this guy for however many years, and also has now seen his face,
Yeah,
you know, in this thing to like reaffirm it. I don't
right.
think that will happen. I think I think everybody's dead, like you say. I think they don't make it. We know at some point Saul is chasing somebody in a ship. It's probably May that he's chasing, you'd
Yeah,
assume. Um, and then yeah, you don't know what happens with the rest. I don't think they make it back.
and most likely you're yeah, most likely if the message even gets back there, we've already seen that that small council of the Venestra Road Jedi
Mm,
care too much about PR and they
mhm.
care too much about politics. Like they are the problem of the Phantom Menace. That's where
Yeah,
it starts right there is with those
yeah.
little guys. In this very one, because some of those little guys become the big guys later on. So the
Kiadi
flaws here, yeah, Ki-Adi-Mundi, carry over.
Hmm.
So they, number one, they might just not ever hear about it again.
And
They
again,
also might not believe it, or they might try to bury it to find it themselves, thinking that it's the safe thing to do, and then just forgetting about it and never getting anywhere. The dead
and again,
case.
they also, if you know, if Saul doesn't make it back, they know the May has been capable of killing multiple Jedi, like masters. You
Yeah,
know, she's
yeah,
already killed
she
Indara,
does.
she's killed Torben, Kalnaka's dead. They don't know that's her, but they would assume,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
So if she's already managed to kill off 3 out of 4, of course she'd kill Saul. Of course she'd manage to do that. So they'd be none the wiser of this larger threat, you know. Um, if they don't make it back, that is.
Yeah, Lefko says Jedi Whip Lady goes to that planet at some point. Could that be in the flashback? I haven't really studied it to see if which way it goes, but could she be in the flashback when how they actually get off the planet in the end? Like in the flashback times when they're taking Osha from the place to the Jedi Temple, could she show up there and then fight stuff like with those during the what happens with the witches? I don't know.
I
Does that
think
make
so. And
sense?
again, it's the
Or
same planet, so
mhm,
why couldn't that happen?
yeah,
Um, Again, I thought if she was going to step in, it would be here. If it wasn't a flashback, it'd be here to help them with the conflict against the Sith.
mhm,
But that hasn't happened, so more than likely, um, not. More than likely, it is in the flashback because again, Salt's getting off the planet. They're
yeah,
leaving. Kymir and Osha are probably going to get off the planet too.
yeah.
Um, so they probably have no real reason to revisit it um in the present, but in the flashback, of course. I
If I
think that's probably what it is.
if I were the Sith Lord, I probably would light the forest on fire before I left.
Yeah,
That'd be a pretty good move because you don't care about anything. You're just like, yeah, burn it all up, you know.
yeah. Also
And
tracks with May because May likes burning stuff, as we know from
she's
the past.
yeah, yeah. She might not even be the one who started the fire originally. It might have been him. I still think we're gonna have stuff that's gonna turn out that he was at play here. That the witches made a deal with him to even create them, and that he may have been waiting for them to come of age so that way he could use them as an apprentice. That might be the deal he made with the witch. Like, yeah, you're gonna have two, and but I get one. You
Hmm.
know, that might be in the end like how that goes, and that might line up well for future content continuity and canon with things like Darth Maul and why Palpatine stole him or took him or whatever, and how they didn't want him to go, and then he was still taken by the Sith. So they might take it into a place like that. So I'm down to see like what they do with it. Um, Let me ask you this though: do you think could this be the peak of the show? Do you think we get more of this kind of stuff like down the road, or do you think maybe like this is the highlight of the series?
I think this is a good chance. This is the highlight, and it could even just be because of where we were before this.
Yeah,
Mentally with it all. And then having this episode be as good as it was, you might not be able to hit that height again. Even if the show does drop off a little bit, as long as it doesn't go back to the sort of quality that it was given in the first four, I think it's fine. I think that's good enough. Um,
yeah,
but we've just had some big moments, which obviously elevates it. So, you know, a lot of it's down to a lot of the gripes we've had of the show hasn't, been the story necessarily. It's been everything around it. Like it's been direction and set design and performances and the scripts,
leaving
dialogue.
a lot of the heavy work to children who can't handle it
Yeah, and again,
and stuff
if
like
we are
that.
going to a
Yeah,
flashback episode once again, little May and little Osha are gonna be in there, like,
yeah,
and some of the other characters that were in that episode weren't exactly good performers either. Mother Anisea was very good, Jodie Turner-Smith,
yeah. She was
um,
she was fantastic.
but there was a few in there that wasn't, and but that episode we might get to see some good chops from Carrie Ann Moss and
Hmm.
Dean Charles Chapman who plays Torben. You know, um, but again, we're gonna see the Wookiee fight. The Wookiee's gonna fight in that episode. And that could be really cool, but it also could look very silly based off of some of how the show has gone and some of the directing in that third episode wasn't exactly amazing. There was some
No,
questionable choices, and again, it's the same person doing that one. And the director is a fine director. He's a good director, but
hmm
he didn't exactly do a great job on three. And again, Headland's the showrunner, so she has the biggest say. But
yeah.
I don't know.
And he probably filmed them back to back
He
or
did probably.
together, and he probably put all of the effort into the next one. That's the hope.
Hmm.
That like, and then when you get down to it, you break it apart. You're like, oh, he did all his best work in the next one. That's my hope. Royal Fino, I think you just saw it. He says, um, Leslie told people who visited Lucasfilm there's a Predator and an Alien inspired episode in the second half of the series. I'm pretty sure you just saw a bunch of Jedi in the forest being hunted down by a Sith Lord. That's the Predator chasing down the soldiers. I think that was it. In my opinion, that is probably what happened there. So,
yeah, I think so. Also, I like the music in this episode as well.
I like the music in all of it.
Yeah,
all of it. I mean, the music has consistently been very good.
Theme is weak. Music is
theme
good.
theme is weak. Yeah, theme. Go back to the drawing board on that. But the actual like moment to moment stuff, it does a pretty good prequel era John Williams like cover band stuff. That's great though. It's like really good. So yeah, but yeah. So Utility says unless next week's episode is Osha running from Chimera. I think next. So here's what I think might happen though. I think we might have May and Saul are going back to the Jedi Temple. She's not going to want to leave her sister there though. Because remember, May's been the one that's like, we need to be together. We need to, that kind of stuff.
And she happily left her there this episode, though.
What's that?
She happily left Osha there in this episode.
Yeah. They did the switcheroo thing. But point is that I think May might be the reason, because May is with Saul, right? And they're going to leave. I got a feeling that they're not going to make it back to Coruscant because she's going to make them turn around. She's going to find a way. Or something will happen to make it, because she's there's no way she's like, let's get out of here. Let's leave my sister with that guy, because she probably knows what's going to happen there.
Why would May want to go with Saul? She wants to kill Saul, probably still.
I don't know. She was about to turn herself in. She was like, I'm going to go surrender myself.
So why would she decide to become Osha and infiltrate his ship? Wait, what is her plan? Like, she's left Osha for dead. You know, she knows how powerful her master was. He might be dead from the bugs, but like,
yeah. Okay. That's completely fair. When she does it, my assumption when she was doing it was, this is how I get off the planet. And so the sister wants.
But she still could have turned herself in. Osha was arresting her.
Yeah.
And she took Osha down.
Yeah.
She still could have turned herself in.
Yeah. I mean, so you think that she's gonna try to kill Saul on the ship then?
Yeah, because she still hasn't let the past go. She, she knew she was in way over her head, and Kami was trying to kill her. But yeah, she needs to get off the planet. But also, again, she could have turned herself in. She could have told the Jedi everything she knew about Kami. She could have helped them, and that doesn't seem to be her plan. She's not. She's when you're seeing her like following Saul, like she has the deceitful look on her face. Like, we've said before, Stenberg isn't that great as performing as a darker character.
Yeah.
And like,
she's a better protagonist than antagonist.
Yeah, it's much more natural like performance to her. And
that's even the correct use.
Yeah, and then when you see, her walking behind Saul, even on the ship, she's got more of a cunning look on her face, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's not Saul.
Because if May was okay, here's another scenario then, based off of what you just said. May is impersonating Osha, and she might kill Saul. Mission accomplished. But then she goes back.
Yeah,
and sister's been turned.
But we see from some of the footage, Saul is chasing somebody in space. So maybe that has a pod or something, a smaller ship she can get out on.
Yeah.
But we do know Saul is gonna chase somebody through space, and at this moment in time, that seems most likely to be May.
Yeah, it seems completely possible, unless there's just some new random thing that they pop in, pirates or something, space roly polies. Or whatever, one of those Star Wars things. But yeah, I think Occam's razor. That's probably what it.
And the episode's probably going to be pretty short. Like most of the episodes have been around the 30-minute mark. When you take away the credits and whatever else, and recap.
Yeah, I would imagine next week's will be the same length as these
Hmm.
ones, and then the last two might be where we get the
I
extra
think I think
10,
Headland did
15.
say before most episodes are around 30 odd minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the finale she thinks was a bit longer.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember this from like a couple months ago, but I'm pretty sure she said that.
Yeah. Oh man, Nerd Mafia says my wife was so confused when I cheered after Yord's neck went snap.
You disgust me,
Yeah,
Nerd Mafia. Yord was a young king.
yeah.
How dare you?
Yord, or the Yord Fandors,
As a British man, he is the only
Fandorks.
king I support.
I liked him. I liked the turnover to him being like, oh yeah, he's a big dork, and then
Mm,
and then you end up like they end up all kind of getting comfortable with him and sort of like talking down on him, and it gets. I liked where that was going, but then when we got to like the last two episodes, I felt like it was a reset back to the episode one with him, and he was just like the by the book Jedi guy who sucks. So
hmm.
yeah, I could have used a couple of more good moments with that guy, considering
If
that you know
but
they
if
were gonna
Yord
kill him.
had
But
stuck to his morals and his rules and how his mind works, he would be alive.
hmm
He and Osha wouldn't be in this predicament.
yeah,
Granted, Saul and May likely would be dead, but two people make it back to tell the Jedi, "Hey, there's the Sith have returned, and he's just slaughtered a lot of Jedi on this planet." It's a very real threat. In the
right,
way that this could go, nobody will ever know about what actually happened. If they had
mm,
stuck to what Yord wanted to do,
yeah,
Yord didn't decide to be brave and to follow Osha's plan,
yeah,
the Jedi would have been alerted to the Sith's presence. And
yeah.
you know
That's what I was the whole time during the episode. I was like, one of you guys needs to run out here and not worry about what happens back there. You just need to get back and tell everybody that the
yeah,
Sith are there. You know.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, but obviously we can't have that happen because
yeah.
Phantom Menace. And yeah, but it was yeah, I liked tonight's episode though. It was fun. It was fun. Any more thoughts before we go?
No, just that, I will be laying flowers on Yord's grave. I will miss
Yeah.
him. Um, it's not like when you took the piss of the guy who died on Kenobi, whose name I do not even remember. I am
Wade.
genuinely
Wade. I'll
Wade.
never forget Wade.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will never forget Yord.
He had a girl. He was survived by a girlfriend in a land speeder or a snow speeder or air
Mm,
speeder. Yeah.
yeah, no, I will actually miss Yord.
Yeah.
But no, this
Yeah.
is a massive step up, and um, yeah, I was very pleased. So I'm glad
Yeah.
we have some for us. I'm not talking about it in general fandom or whatever else. For us, that we have an episode we really enjoyed, and there's some positivity around this show for us because it's been underwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, have fun. And if you're not having fun, don't do it. That's what I say. And that's why last week I didn't do a show because I wasn't going to have fun if I did it.
But you ruined Rob's week by making him watch 3 and 4.
I know. Well, I think now if he does watch it, it might be too little too. I think it's honestly, I think it's too little too late for Rob. And honestly, I don't wouldn't blame anybody for being like this is too little too late. The fifth
Mhm.
episode and until like the show really gets like interesting, you know, and not
Especially
just
if you're coming
like
off of the back of like the book of I personally didn't like Book of Boba Fett that much. I think there was some good episodes within it, but generally I was disappointed.
yeah.
Then you have Ahsoka, which started well and teetered off quite hard towards the end. Um,
See,
and
I mostly liked Ahsoka though. Like overall, like I mostly thought it was pretty good, but
it was the back end of it
it was very much like the Clone Wars, Star
yeah,
Wars. You know what I
but it
mean?
was the
Kind
back
of
end of
stuff.
it that let it
Yeah,
down. And
yeah.
then obviously the Mandalorian season 3, which was not great either. So if you're coming off of like a bunch of those, like if you didn't enjoy those shows and then you go into this and like you found this the worst of the bunch,
hmm
then you can understand if somebody wants to like check out.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's like what we say about a lot of the superhero movies. It's bad after bad after bad for the most part at the moment, or disappointing at least. And it's very rare that you're getting one that people really like, whether that's like Spider-Man No Way Home or you know or
My my
something.
my my buddy at 7-Eleven, he'll see me every now and then with like my Andor shirt, and then
Mm,
that will open up the Star Wars Disney Plus discussion stuff
yeah.
like in passing, and he was asking me about this one, and
Mm-hmm.
I told them I would just wait until it was all done. And I think that's probably at this point the fact that I think the first two episodes are pretty compelling. Like you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm in, but it's a little rocky, but I'm in. And then three and four, eh, not
I think you're
not
in if you
so.
like Star Wars, though. I think if you're a casual
Yes,
fan, you're not in on the
yeah,
first two.
yeah, true. But and then the fifth episode gets good, so I'm thinking that like the way that this is going, if you just watched it all at once, you're probably gonna have a better time than the week to weekers on upon it releasing,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am gonna probably like after the finale, I'm probably gonna take like a little bit of an Acolyte break, and then when I feel like okay, I'm probably gonna go do like a straight watch through of all of them and
Mm-hmm.
see like how does it feel like all together. Because right now, with the way that the story is, the way that the story is like broken up and what the story is, I am like this just should have been a Star Wars film. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like a very good series to me. It doesn't feel like we're getting the depth and the exploration and the time of it being 8 episodes. Like it's just in
No,
the end, it's like a poorly edited film.
but
You
you
know what I
gotta,
mean? It's like
yeah, yeah. You gotta sort of think of the time that the Disney and Lucasfilm were in when they
yeah,
greenlit it. Though they were still in the Disney Plus is our full focus. We got to make it work. We're investing so much money into it, et cetera, et cetera. Like in late 2019, early 2020, when this was like given the go ahead. Um,
yeah,
that's where they were at. They just wanted content for Disney Plus.
right.
Um, this is obviously completely different now. Maybe now, if Headland presented them with this idea, they would be like, "That's a good idea for a film."
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, um,
Maybe.
because even then they had plans for films, but they really Disney as a company really wanted to sell Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Tony Gilroy talked about he'd never get away with getting that much money for Andor now.
And that
Um,
was like a year and a half ago now. He was saying that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
how far away we are from that time, even,
yeah.
right? I mean, when you get
And
down
now
to it.
Bob Iger's openly talking about like putting less in because they're not making as much money from it. That's why we got all the ads in it now.
Yeah.
And Disney's focus these days are back on theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, um, yeah, I think if this was given the green light today, maybe it would have been a film. And I agree with the take. I think like yeah, at the moment it feels like it shouldn't have been a series. um, especially the lengths that they are as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, all in all, I mean, right now, I'm at least feeling like this episode told me the next one might suck, but it might be cool all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, because we had a lot of good action early on, and then it just got boring. And I'm not the kind of guy who's like, oh, the Phantom Menace sucks, but the fight is cool. Like I'm not that guy. I just need something to like invest in and have fun with.
Well,
And
the
I just wasn't.
conversations weren't exactly exciting, and there wasn't, like you can have like an episode that is slower. Like Andor is a slow show. Like
And
as long as it's
like my favorite
entertaining.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's my favorite one too. Like so, it's just about who's writing it and who's directing it and whatever. It's just it wasn't a riveting, you know, even just through dialogue. It
yeah,
wasn't like on Andor. You'd listen to every word. You'd like hang on every word character was saying.
yeah, yeah. And that's excuse me. Like last week's was just a pure exposition episode to get to this one.
Hmm.
It is what it is. But anyways, yeah, check out bestmanbulletin.com.
Mm, you
Um,
can.
and if you like Bestman's work, send him a coffee, buy him some McDonald's. I'd say buy him some chicken nuggets. But like, here's some chicken nugget, you Grogu. He likes it when you talk to him like that, like a little baby, right? You like that, right?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
yeah. See, he's just trying to act cool in front of Skywalker's Academy.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, if anything interesting happens, we'll do another show. If Rob loves the episode a lot, I'll come back on here with Rob and let Rob share his ideas because I think we should. I feel bad that we told him don't bother with the show and then it was cool. But
But
yeah,
well, you screwed him 2 weeks in a row. Last week we
Well,
told him watch the show. He watched 3 or 4. Nah, that was bad. And now he said don't bother. And now he
yeah,
enjoyed it. So
yeah, it's the way it goes.
at
That's the
least
way
he's
it
got
goes.
Superman. He's happy about Superman at the moment.
Yeah, I'm happy about Superman too. That I like the reporter. They should just do a whole spin-off show with her just
Cat Grant.
being hot. Yeah, just chick's hot. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight with us, and thank you, James, for the $10 super chat. Super appreciate that, dude. I'm gonna get some McDonald's with it, even though I don't need it, but I will. And yeah, and then tomorrow, if you want like a really positive show, check out Star Wars Santa show tomorrow, because I think he's gonna give this thing a 10 out of 10. I think he's gonna give it an 11 out of 10, and his rating isn't gonna make me mad this week. Because he's been like every episode's a 9, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Disagree. Hard disagree. But at the same time,
he's probably on cloud 9 with this one.
Oh, yeah. This week, I think he busted out of a Santa suit, honestly. I think he's busted straight out of it.
It's Christmas for him today.
It started the first snowfall of June happened last
Christmas
night for
again.
Santa. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me, Bespin. And we'll see everybody very, very soon.